Hello, I'm Sarah Grady Ackerman. Joyce Elson Moore is a bronze medal winner in this year's Florida Book Awards in the popular fiction category. Her work is titled The Tapestry Shop, and she joins me now. Welcome, Joyce. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Sarah.
How excited were you when you had got the phone call or the email that you were a medal winner?
Actually, I did get an email, and I was, as we are whenever we win a contest or an award, it never wears off, you know, and especially Florida Book Awards it means a lot to be a medalist.
I'm excited to hear about the book. Just kind of give us a brief summary about The Tapestry Shop.
Okay. Well, it took me a couple years to write it. You want me to summarize it in a few words?
I know, right? It's a tough one, but just kind of an overview to give people an idea.
It's an historical novel set in 13th century France, and it's based on the life of Adam de la Haye, which is Adam de la Haye if it's anglicized. And he was a 13th century musician who was born north of Paris, and he actually was a singer and an entertainer part of the time in the court of Louis IX's nephew. So he had a very interesting life. What little they know about him was interesting.
What do you think that people, some of the things that they would find most interesting or fascinating about his life?
I think him being connected with the court, and he traveled quite a bit. He went down to Naples and wrote songs for kings and poems, and you know, he was one of the first trouvères, the first musicians who actually he started the first opera comedy from his secular plays, the form carried down. So he was one of the most important trouvères.
Is that really what led you to want to base an entire book on his life?
Actually, the first time I saw Adam was in a college textbook, a music history textbook, and there was a woodcut of him, and he looked like a monk. He was in like a library that a monk would work in, but with his secular music, I knew he must not be a monk. And also he was called the Hunchback of Ross, and I wondered if he really were hunchbacked. And later when I retired from teaching, somehow I ran across the woodcut again. Maybe I was moving books or whatever, and I saw that image again, and I thought, now that I have time, I'm gonna see what Adam was all about. And I got in it and got interested, and the more I found out about him, I thought, I have to write this man's story.
Wow, and that's amazing. It all started from just seeing that one picture.
Yeah.
And you mentioned two things. You mentioned your background in music and your background in teaching, but you have decided to become a full-time writer. Just talk to us about what led you to want to become a full-time writer and what you love about writing.
I don't know. I've always written, but I didn't get serious about sending anything out until after I quit teaching and I had time. I suppose that, it's really fun. In the first place, I love the research, and also I like imagining what may have happened within the boundaries. Because I write biographical fiction, so we have some lines we have to go by dates and places and times.
Right.
And we also have to sort of be true to what we can find out and what we know about the characters.
But you're able to use your imagination to kind of fill in the blanks.
A little, yes, because my heroine in here is fictional. So it's a fictionalized biography.
And lastly, just overall, how do you hope that the Tapestry Shop impacts its readers? What do you hope that they take away from this book?
I hope that historical novel readers will learn that some of the books do not have to be necessarily about marquee names like Elizabeth I and one of the Tudors. there are so many wonderful figures in history who their stories need to be told.
Joyce, I understand there's an interesting connection between Adam and Robin Hood. Tell us about that.
Yes, actually, the book is not about Robin Hood, but he wrote a secular play called Le Jeu de Robin and Marian, and that's the play of Robin and Marian. And a lot of scholars and musicologists believe that his play was the first penned version of the Robin Hood legend. And what's interesting is that he wrote in the 13th century, and the surviving English ballads are 14th century and later. So we speculate that he lived in northern France a good bit of the time, and they spoke the Langois, which was the dialect that was in the English court. So, you know, it's plausible that his plays were sung over there, and maybe he really, if there were a real man, Robin Hood, maybe he was even French. So English people don't like to hear that. No, there are many theories about who Robin Hood was. You know, some say he was the Earl of Huntingdon and so forth. So I think that's part of his mystique, is that we don't know who he really was, if there was such a man, and we'll probably never know.
Thanks so much, Joyce, and congratulations again.
Production of this program is made possible in part by a grant from the Florida Humanities Council. Additional support comes from the Florida State University Libraries.